What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Islam Makhachev reacts to Dustin Poirier vs Justin Gaethje 2 fight. This week, UFC President Dana White dropped some exciting news on fight fans. At the end of July, Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje will step inside the octagon in the main event of UFC 291 to compete for the BMF belt. The event will take place in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we'll see Poirier and Gaethje compete in a highly anticipated sequel to their 2018 clash. Despite the excitement from the fight community on the heels of the news, lightweight champion Islam Makhachev seemed to be more amused than anything. With the two men both coming up short of winning the 155-pound title on two separate occasions, Makhachev joked that the two both deserved the BMF title rather than the real belt. Although the fight has earned plenty of praise from fans, many people have questioned why the UFC feels the need to bring back the symbolic BMF belt. Despite the ceremonial belt being on the line, the real prize is a presumptive title shot for the winner. On June 10th, former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira and streaking contender Beneil Dariush will step into the octagon to compete in a title eliminator, with the winner likely punching their ticket to a crack at the lightweight title. With the UFC expecting to return to Abu Dhabi on October 21st for the UFC 294 card, the winner of the late July rematch between Poirier and Gaethje will likely find themselves competing for the 155-pound title in early 2024 after the winner of the upcoming Oliveira-Dariush fight gets their shot in Abu Dhabi. When the two step inside the octagon on July 29th, how do you see things playing out? Drop your predictions in the comments section down below. Francis Ngannou opens up on a relationship with the UFC and Dana White. Ever since Francis Ngannou parted ways with the UFC, fans have continued to hold out hope that the Predator and Dana White will mend fences so we can finally see Ngannou and Jon Jones compete inside the octagon. From the sounds of things, however, the chances of Ngannou returning to the octagon are somewhere between slim and none. As UFC President Dana White revealed, he's sick and tired of dealing with Ngannou, and after spending tons of time negotiating with the Predator and his team, he's unwilling to open up the door for his return. In the wake of Ngannou signing a landmark deal with the PFL, the former UFC champion explained why there's no bad blood between he and the promotion on his side during a recent appearance on the MMA Hour, saying,
"But listen, we have a long relationship. I respect that. I respect what UFC have done for me. I appreciate them. I move forward with my life. We had a contract. I fulfilled the contract. We couldn't agree on another one. Then I go on my side. They should be able to go on their own side without a bad blood."
The way UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier sees things, Ngannou's deal is a milestone for the MMA community as a whole.
Big deal for Francis Ngannou. Congratulations to the former UFC heavyweight champion on really setting a new standard for what is out there in the free agent market. It feels real, Ryan, after this one. It makes MMA feel real after seeing what Francis Ngannou just did.
What are your thoughts on Ngannou's deal? Sound off in the comment section down below. Henry Cejudo wants Merab Dvalishvili's head. After Henry Cejudo dropped a narrow decision to bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling at UFC 288 recently, there was a lot of speculation as to what the future may hold for him. Initially, it sounded as though Triple C was ready to walk away from the sport again, as he stated during his post-fight Octagon interview and during the post-fight press conference. If he couldn't beat the Funkmaster, then maybe his goal of moving up and capturing the featherweight title in pursuit of the C4 moniker was further off than he anticipated. In the days following the loss, Cejudo revealed that he had a change of heart and as a result was eager to compete against Merab Dvalishvili for the bantamweight #1 contender spot. On the same night, Aljamain Sterling defends his title against Sugar Sean O'Malley. In a recent video, Cejudo doubled down on his call-out of the machine, saying,
"I want Merab's head on a plate. He's the #1 contender, and I love this matchup. I love the fact that he's #1 contender. I love the storyline. The fact that him and Aljo are best friends, but this is it's personal now. But then 3, where it puts me in position to fight for the belt again. And I think that's what I'm after now."
Despite the hype surrounding the fight, it sounds as though fans will have to wait for the matchup. Dvalishvili was quick to respond to Cejudo's call-out, revealing that he recently underwent hand surgery, and as a result, Triple C will have to do things on his schedule. When the fight takes place, how do you see things playing out? Drop your predictions in the comments section below. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love, and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. Conor McGregor laughs off Matt Brown's woeful attempt at a callout. Recently, UFC veteran, the immortal Matt Brown, picked up a massive KO win over Court McGee, tying him with Derek Lewis for the most knockouts in UFC history. Quickly, Irish superstar Conor McGregor was quick to weigh in, stating that he planned to make a run at the record. That was met with enthusiasm from Brown, who called out McGregor in an attempt to bait the former two-division champ into a fight. As he stated in a recent episode of The Fighter vs. the Writer, the Immortal wants to compete against McGregor inside the octagon. However, he isn't sold on McGregor ever returning to active competition amid his impasse with USADA.
I think it'd be a great fight, and I don't think Conor's actually coming back. I'm pretty well convinced he's not even going to ever fight again. I think he just likes being in the spotlight. I think he likes people talking about him. He likes, being heard. He likes the ego boost, all that kind of stuff.
Although the quotes got the fight community talking, McGregor quipped back, dubbing Brown's call-out a woeful attempt at baiting him into a fight. With plenty of speculation as to when McGregor will return to the octagon, only time will tell how things play out for him in the years to come. UFC fight updates and roster news. On the heels of the UFC parting ways with several fighters who lost on the UFC Fight Night Charlotte card, it was revealed that Joseph Holmes has also now been removed from the UFC's roster. Holmes is in the midst of a 2-fight skid that recently saw him TKO'd on the UFC 288 card, bringing his UFC record to 1-3. This week also saw a fight between Ultimate Fighter alumni Vink Pichel and Benoit St. Denis added to the UFC Vegas card on July 1st, where Pichel will look to bounce back from a UFC 273 loss, while St. Denis will be looking to extend his 2-fight win streak. In addition, a thrilling scrap between Jimmy Crute and Alonzo Menifield has also been added to UFC 290 on July 8th, with both men eager to pick up a win after fighting to a controversial majority draw at UFC 284. Aljamain Sterling vs. Sean O'Malley fight in jeopardy. UFC President Dana White seems to be in a bit of hot water with bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling's coach Ray Longo. This week, White took to social media to announce a slew of fights for UFC 291 in Utah and UFC 292 in Boston. One of the fights that was announced for the card was a bantamweight title fight between the Funkmaster and Sean O'Malley, which White stated following UFC 288 would likely take place in Boston. The only problem is that, to Ray Longo's knowledge, his fighter never formally agreed to fight O'Malley at UFC 292. Although Sterling admitted on the MMA Hour recently that he wants to fight on the stacked card, he also wants to make sure he's 100% healthy for a quick turnaround, given that O'Malley has been preparing for the fight since his UFC 280 win over Peter Yan in October. The situation seems to be a bit of a trend with White and the UFC. Time and time again, White announces fights that are not finalized in order to seemingly put pressure on fighters to accept bouts on his timeline. Recently, Deiveson Figueiredo was announced for a UFC 290 clash against Manel Kape. However, shortly after the fight was announced, it was revealed that the former flyweight champ was not medically cleared to compete yet. From the sounds of things, many are questioning whether the timing of White announcing nearly a dozen fights on Tuesday could have been an attempt to steal the spotlight away from Francis Ngannou, who announced a landmark deal with the PFL earlier in the day. Thanks so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.